Today's topic is actually something which is close to uh, the principles that I mentioned today. In the second one, I mentioned something like how to treat others, that we are equal and similar, and you treat others as skin. So today's principle is somewhat along those lines. Okay. Uh, so I don't quite sure how to define this. Maybe if I think about it more, I'll be able to, but I'll still give you the basic idea. So we all have, whether you realize it or not, whether you identify it or not, a basic conceptualization of us and them in life, which is there are people in your life which you consider part of us. Okay, this is us, this is we are together. Like I know them, I'm familiar to them. And then there is the concept of them, which is people who you don't know that well, people who just seem like strangers or acquaintances, or people who you are pretty much indifferent towards. And this boundary of how many people do you consider part of us. So let's say somebody who's very, very lonely in their life, okay, very, very lonely and very disappointed with everybody, they will feel that there is no us, right? I have nobody in life. I'm just alone. Even my parents don't care about me. Even I don't have any friends. And my relatives, I mean, they're again, they don't talk to me. And people, everybody prefers somebody else. And there's no us. And everybody's them, them, them. Even when they're part of a friendly group, they're like, people are teaming up against me, and I can't call anybody my own, right? So for them, for that person, probably everybody is them, like, and they're just doubtful of everybody, suspicious of everybody. And sometimes it's a mental illness too. Like if in extreme cases, in psychosis, what happens is like delusion disorders or schizophrenia, like again, those are proper disorders. What happens is you just become of suspicious of people, right? Their intentions, and you're constantly, even your own family, you get suspicious of them. So that is like the one extreme case where everybody in your life is just them, 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 no us. And then you can go to the other side, where people, let's say, who become activists, social workers, or monks sometimes, or great big leaders, who become like, you know what, now the whole world is us, there's no them, like we're all together, all Indians are my brothers and sisters. Like we used to have that prayer in our assembly time, speak everybody loudly, all Indians are our brothers and sisters, and such. So what such prayers or such affirmations, what were they doing? They were trying to enhance the circle of us, like we're all brothers and sisters, we're all in this together, right? And so if you now look into your own life and ask yourself this question, what is your us and what is your them? Like how many people do you consider part of us? Is it just your family, or is it family and friends? Is it just your community? Is it also your neighborhood, or is it your city? Like, okay, you know what, I belong to this city, or I belong to this, again, or it could be your community, which is I belong to this caste and religion. It could be anything, right? And how many people are outside of that circle? That's the first question to ask yourself. How big is your circle? And once now, and the principle that I want to tell today is, for a better life and for a better world, it must be a constant task for all of us to increase the circle of us and reduce the zone of them. And as you mature in life, as you transcend egotism, more and more of people should come in your us circle, that we are in this together. So I'm going to discuss why and how to make that happen, and why it's not happening. But this is the overarching principle today, which is you must keep expanding your circle of us and keep reducing the portion of them in your view of the world. Okay, so that's the principle. So now I'm going to discuss a few things. And by the way, there is actually a great talk by, if you want to note it down somewhere, I'm actually going to write this as well on the chat. Just let me put it down so that people can. So there's this, I think, Professor Fred Luskin. So there's a great video about him where he actually talks about this concept, us and them. Some of the ideas that I'm going to be discussing today are his also, right? Fred Luskin. I don't recall the exact. If you search for it, he is giving this talk on happiness. And in that talk, it's a long talk. And in that talk, he talks about this us and them concept also. So I'm, of course, going to give you more perspectives, but some ideas I really relate to them too. Okay. So one thing is that the way we are, okay, the way we process this world, first of all, we really even conceptualize ourselves like who we are in presence of others. Like if I just completely leave you alone, and if you absolutely have had no feedback about who you are from the external world, you would not even have a good concept, self concept. So for example, a child, two children, one is better looking than the other, right? The fact that one child will go on to develop the identity of, okay, I'm a good looking person as opposed to the other person, where did that come from? That came from the feedback from other people, right? Imagine if there was absolutely no feedback from other people, zero feedback. Okay, how would the child even have the identity that I'm such and such person? Again, another thing is, whatever we do in life, whatever is appreciated, whatever is not appreciated, that tells us, again, that activates or deactivates our desires. So let's say you're doing some work, you're doing something creative in life. Okay, you drew a painting and everybody else hated it, then you drew another one and then they hated it too. Can you even continue doing it? You would just give up. Like it would seem completely fruitless. Okay, so the idea is, whatever you are, whatever you think about yourself and about your own life, people are actually very intertwined with us. Your perception of yourself and others, that also is determined by others' perception of them and you. Okay, so it's all a web. Okay, so in that way, once you first see it like that, then it's also intermingled. So you also have to understand that there is no way out of this. You really cannot live a life cut off from people and actually live happily and successfully and productively. So why is this important to know? Because in the long run, people who have too small of us circles and too big of them circles, like too many them people, then they ultimately make their own lives miserable, because then they cut themselves off from so many people. Again, reasons could be any, but ultimately the outcome is that now their own self concept and how they live their own lives, everything is affected, because the way they perceive people is somehow very, very narrow, which is key. And why is this narrow, by the way? This is partly to do with our evolution as well, which is we are designed to care more about our kin. It's like survival instincts, right? You want to survive, then you want to make sure your children survive, and then probably you can make sure that people close to you survive. So those survival instincts, they kind of wire us in a way that we care more about people just close to us. And that can sometimes, or in fact, not sometimes, almost every time, it leads us into actually believing that people around me, they are probably more special. My child is more special, and somehow my life is more valuable than others. Like whatever I do, whatever I say matters more. Like let's say you start a company and suddenly your product becomes way more important than other products, even though other people are also doing a good job. Okay, no, everybody else is doing nothing else. Everybody else is doing useless work, and my work is the best. Somehow my company, everything becomes more and more special. So this feeling of specialness, this feeling of prioritizing yourself and your children and your kin, where is this coming from? It is again coming from our basic evolution, but it's a design flaw. It's not the mature thinking. Because if I really question you, if I really dig deeper, okay, tell me, why are you special? What have you done? Is there anything different about your biology? Did you do anything? Okay, you may say, okay, I achieved such and such. Well, millions of other people achieve things too. Okay, so I look a certain way. Okay, I look very good. Okay, well, millions of other people again. Whatever you want to do or whatever you think you have, which makes you special, I can guarantee you millions of other people have done something very, very similar, and they have it too. So the idea is, deep down, you really would not have any objective basis to feel special or to call your own children or your family or your friends special, even though it feels like it inside. Okay. But once you realize this, that it's based on just this design flaw and not objective reasons, then you can transcend it. Then you can get over it. And then you can ask yourself this question, okay, if I cannot really distinguish between other people and mine, and if I really cannot prioritize myself, then how should I orient myself in this world? How should I behave with us and others, right? And should there even be us or others? How, where should that boundary be? And then you start to question those things, okay? So again, in my own personal journey, that's something that I did, right? Which is, your natural concern is obviously towards people very close to you. But then I realized, okay, is my pain, let's say if I hear about some pain or some misery in news, and for us, it's very easy to just disregard that because it's just far away in the distance, right? It's just a number. But if something happens to us, then it can make you so angry, right? Like a small accident with you can make you so angry, but somebody getting killed in an accident in the news doesn't really lead to much in your mind, because of course, how much can you worry about, right? There is compassion fatigue too. You can't exactly worry about everybody else in the world. But what you can do is, whenever it happens to you versus others, you can tell yourself, for whatever time you have or attention you have, you can tell yourself that, okay, that is just as important as if it had happened to me. Because once you understand that people are actually just similar, people are actually equal, then you see them like yourselves, and their pain and suffering becomes just as important to you as yourself. Now, this is one step taking towards more and more us and less them. Okay, because now, and this goes back to those principles that I discussed, which is being concerned about others' pain and suffering. So when you realize that your pain and suffering is not more important, then anybody else's pain and suffering is just as important. And if you're going to be concerned about yourself, then you have to be concerned about others. So now I am definitely not saying that practically you can go on to solve every problem of everybody else. Of course not. Like you cannot, let's say, you cannot feed every child in the world just because they're hungry. It's just simply out of your reach. But the question is, if you were in a judging position, and if your child is hungry versus a stranger's child is hungry, you cannot technically say that, you know what, this is way more important. Yes, you can say that I want to really feed my own child because that's my child. But technically, if resources were coming from a third party, then you cannot really prioritize your child over the other, right? Because it's just, you have no basis for it. And this kind of thinking really takes a long time to develop, because people give you basis for being very, very different. What I mean by that is, it's not easy. It's not really easy to really welcome diversity, okay? Because people are diverse. Strange people can do strange things, weird things. And it's not that easy to feel like, okay, you know what, we are all together in this. Because we also have this feeling, you know what, Americans are like that, Punjabis are like that, Marwadis are like that, South Indians are like that, Nepalis are like that, or in religions, Hindus are like that, Muslims are like that. So people draw these boundaries, which is, okay, we are like that, this is our community, I am such and such, this is our in-group, this is our tribe, and versus them, which is others are like that. So our natural instinct is to analyze people in a very different way, other groups in a very different way. And that immediately creates a wall between that us and them, which is now, how would you, when you're with them, how would you feel together with them, right? How would you feel, okay, you know what, we're all in this together, that we're all similar, okay? And you're all part of us. It's just not possible. And that's why it's also super important that whenever you're analyzing other people, you remember that second principle that I discussed, which is we are all equal and similar, which is deep down, whoever you meet is more similar than you than different, actually, is way more similar than you than different. So all the principles that I'm discussing is actually leading towards that final principle that I discussed, which was enhancing the us. Now, I gave you some reasons why it's not natural to us, of course, because we are not built that way. But once you understand that, like I said, there are no objective reasons, you naturally objectively say, you know what, I should actually consider everybody similar, and there is reason to include them in the us circle. Now I'll tell you some benefits also. What are the benefits of thinking like this? So one is simply that when you are oriented like that, naturally you will be kinder to people. Naturally, you will be helpful to people. And if everybody else in the world could think that everybody else is us, imagine the world that we can build together. Now, of course, it takes time and it's a utopia, and of course, it's not going to happen. So that's why I always talk about, can we move in that direction? If we can move of certain steps in that direction, then we are leading to a better world. And this is not just for a better world, now it's for your personal life as well. So when you walk out, when you see the world, your feeling, how you look at the world, determines how you're going to feel inside. If you're going to feel more and more them, of course it's going to make you miserable inside. Of course it's going to be very unhappy and sad life. But for you, if wherever you go, you see us, okay, people, okay, you know what, we're in this together. Okay, you're just like me, just like us, and it's like it's an in group wherever you go. So the whole world becomes your family. And imagine the life experience then. Then wherever you go, you feel welcome. You don't doubt people. You're not suspicious of people. I'm not talking about not being careful. Sometimes you have to be careful. People can deceive you. People can steal stuff from you. You are traveling. People can snatch away something. People can cheat you. Those things can happen. But those things are not the rule, right? But when you come into that us zone, you first give people the benefit of the doubt, which is, if I don't know anything else about you, I think you're a good person. You're somebody like me, my children, and I would care for you and be concerned about you, unless you prove me otherwise. It's like innocent until proven guilty. So good until proven wrong or bad, right? So that's what your orientation becomes. And the whole world, and you can see everybody, whole world like that. Okay, and this cuts across all classes, cultures, races, religions, creeds, everything. Everybody becomes part of that us. Okay, and then whenever you meet anybody in life, it's a warmer experience than before. It's a closer, it's a better bond, right? So it's a very great personal benefit to you. Okay, and other thing is, it's actually going to open you up to diverse people, because you also grow in life when you interact with diverse kind of people. Okay, when you talk to them, when you get to know them, when you want to know them, and when you actually kind of adapt to them. So if you only stay in your comfort zone, this is my zone, this is my safe zone, if you don't push yourself, you don't really push your personality, you don't really increase your tolerance, you don't really learn new skills, you don't really get to know what's out there. Okay, so the more diverse people you meet in life, you actually grow with that, and your experiences become richer and richer. So again, if you have a bigger circle of us, then you'll be more willing to hang out with diverse kind of people. So that again makes your life more richer. Okay, and ultimately, it actually makes all of us, if you think like that, fairer towards others. It brings more justice, because now we don't become very egotistic, which is, we are always only going to try to save ourselves, make sure that we get everything and others may suffer. Like, I don't care about others as long as it's my benefit. And whenever something is happening, you start changing rules, because rules are different for yourself, because you are special, my children are special, my family is special, and rules are different for others, right? It's like when you are basically, if you're standing in a queue, if you're about to reach the counter, then you don't want anybody to break the queue because you're about to reach. But if you are behind, then you're like, okay, can I go around and go at the front of the queue? So you don't do those things like that, because you don't prioritize your own interest over others, right? So the thing is, because if you think like, okay, those people are just like me, okay, they're also waiting, they don't like waiting either, so why would I prioritize my interests over them? So naturally you just became more fair there, right? And it leads to a fairer and more just society. Okay, and ultimately you will be more liked as a person also, because people do like people who can think above themselves, who can do the right thing, who can say the right thing, who can go beyond their own ego and self-interest. So ultimately, if you become that mature and wise person, you will be more liked. You will be invited more. People would want to talk to you more. They would want to continue relationships with you better. So it's all in all, it leads to a better life and better society. So one of the principles actually behind, or in, I can call it a criteria behind asking whether something is wise or not, I always ask myself, if everybody else did the same, what would the world look like? So if you ask this question with us and them, if everybody in this world went to that extreme, which is, you know what, it's just me, and everybody's them, what would the world look like? We will be living with 7 billion people just suspicious of each other and not getting along, right? As opposed to if everybody in the world became us, right? Became, you know what, we're all in this together, we're all similar, we're all equal. What would the world look like? It's definitely a better world. And since that seems like a better word, that's why us is a more wiser way of life than them. Okay. So this is the key difference. And I'm gonna, if I could just give some practical things where you could, it could actually help you. Although it's more like a internal orientation, but a practical example would be, let's say you're in a mall on a Sunday, right? And you reach the mall and suddenly you see so much crowd. Now, what's your feeling there? Do you get disgusted? Do you get, "Arey yaar, ye crowd kya hai?" ठीक है? Or if you see, let's say, if you visit a restaurant where you see the crowd and like it's a good crowd, bad crowd. This is a very common analysis by people. So if you see people like yourself or people, or sometimes even rich, good-looking people, you're like, okay, that's a good crowd. And if you people not like yourself or people who you think that, you know, they could be loud or from a different community or poorer or something, they're like, that's a bad crowd, right? And suddenly you feel, okay, you know what, I have to go away from here, or just you don't enjoy the experience there. Now, where is this coming from? Again, deep down, certain people you consider us, okay, something people like you, or sometimes even people that you aspire to be us, which is okay, you're trying to be like, you want to hang out with them. And then there are people who are them, who are alien to you, who are different from you, and you just don't, or you want to go away from them. But look at your experience in that moment. You could have sat down in the restaurant, or you could have walked around in that mall and really enjoyed your time, simply because if you had that us experience. Then if you saw a lot of people, it could actually make you happy inside. You know what, there's a lot of people, there's humanity, there's people like us, people are going out, they're having fun, I'm having fun. You can literally see people and be happy instead of being disgusted or wanting to run away or wanting to hide or what. So your experience changes. That's one example, right? Another example here would be when you become when you make more and more people part of us, you can celebrate more successes than just being jealous of people, right? Just being envious. So it's like every parent, they're very proud to hear their children succeed or achieve things, because the children is as us as it can be, right? Like it's the closest to you, like it's literally part of you. This is my child. It's like if my child is succeeding, I'm succeeding, right? But can you be happy for your neighbor's kid or your neighbor or your relative's kid or somebody in the distance? Why not? Again, it's not like your child is any different from that person. So technically, if somebody else succeeds versus your child succeeds, to the world, it's the same thing, right? There's no much difference. But why is it a difference? Why is it the difference to you? Again, because of your wiring. Again, because of the egotism that it's my child. Somehow my child's success is more important than others. But if you change that, then you can be happy in everybody's success, which is anybody who does something good. You know what? Okay, that's good. Of course, I cannot expect that it'll go to the same level, but at least you won't. At least you won't be too jealous or too envious, or at least it won't lead to negative feelings in you, or at least you won't be wishing for somebody else's failures, because you know what, I just wish, I mean, because that person is so alien to you, or that person is so different to you, then you're like, you know what, if that person suffers, okay, you know what, now they know what life is like, because, or now, it's not that easy, or it's like now we are better because, see, we are living a much better life. So all of these things ultimately get eroded away as your circles increase, as they become better and better. By the way, there is a technique also, if somebody wants to look into it, they should. It is loving kindness meditation, compassion meditation, where they, what they do is literally they make you think about people who don't even know you. It's like imagine people and then actually feel the compassion for them, and it's literally done to cultivate that sense of us, right, to enhance the sense of us. And the video that I was talking about, the Fred Luskin, in that one also he's conducts that exercise towards the end. So if you stick watch it till the end, he conducts that exercise also with people in the audience. Okay, so that's actually wonderful. So if you are into meditation, or if you want to explore that, that's another way to really drill this concept down. Okay, enhancing the us part and reducing the them. Okay, so overall, because we are social beings, it's very obvious, right? We are social beings, and if we feel that the whole society is home, is us, of course it's going to be better for us. And technically it should be the way, because of the reasons that I gave you, which is we're all actually equal and similar. You are not special. People are not very different from you. So now we have reasons, now we have benefits. So now it's just a matter of your mental practice and mental blocks, that how much them you create versus how much us you create. How close you draw that boundary versus how wide you draw that. It's now just, it depends on the mental blocks that you may have, certain thoughts that could be stopping you from embracing more and more people as us. Okay. So now that was it from me. I know this concept is pretty wide. It's a little, it's deep, but it's also vague at times, because in practical application you will find difficulties. So now let me take some questions and think about it from the sense that, okay, if you were to apply this in your life, what difficulties would you face, and I would try to answer them. So first, I'll go to Sonam. Yeah, I'm gonna unmute you, Sonam.
Yeah, hello everyone.
Hi, Sonam. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, you were saying that when we increase, when we make our circle big, like our circle big, some people might feel that we are interfering, you know, and uh, they might feel that why is she so happy? What is happening to her? Why doesn't she keeps things to herself? You know, her
Could you,
opinion to herself.
could you give me an example, like how exactly do you mean that?
Uh, how I am. I mean, I have. I used to be like that, but due to some experiences of mine, I have restricted. I mean, I have shortened my circle. Like now, I will think about these people only. You know, because
No,
of
I
some
think
bad experiences.
that could actually be a very different concept, what you're talking about, which is the
Huh.
practical application of time and resources, which
You
is,
know, that becomes very humiliating then कि ये क्यों इतना बोल रही है कोई बात नहीं इसको जाने दो मतलब why is she interfering. I will share one incident with you. It was some marriage or something, some function was there, so it was some gathering was there, so I thought I might help them. I went there and they were like कि ये क्यों आ गई है इसको क्या पड़ी है let it be मतलब they avoided me. I went there to help, but some people they avoided me. They never wanted to share that thing with me. So that I felt कि ठीक है that then you obviously took a back step.
so
So these things happen.
yeah, yeah, no, I
This
mean,
world is not that kind. You can't always be kind to the people
or
around.
definitely not. See, in
Yeah,
general, people will be indifferent to you. See, the default state is because we again have a limited capacity to care and be compassionate and use our time and resources. The question
yeah,
that you're asking right now is more of how do you apply your time and resources, and how much can you expect it from others also, right? but my let me clarify the difference between the two things. The first, the concept that I was discussing was more like an internal orientation of the world. Even in this case, I would say they're still part of us. I'll tell you why. Even if you never meet people, see, I told the whole world can be us, right? I would not meet probably 7.4, if there are 7.5 billion people, if you take away, let's say, 10,000 people, then rest of the billions of billions of people, I would never meet in life. And why are they still part of us? Because it's coming from some other place, which is a basic understanding of life, that they are just like us, similar in nature. They are also just like me, pursuing their own desires. They have their own goals. They have their own agendas in life. They have their own limitations, their own ignorance, their own strengths, and their own weaknesses, right? So when you interact with them, you're not necessarily going to be aligned with everybody, because they may have different desires at the time. Some people will be, by their own personality, not so welcoming, but definitely you'll find some people which would be very very welcoming. Like in your life also, if you try enough, you must have found people who would love to take help from you, who would love the fact that they would be very very grateful to you. You know what? So I'm so glad, Sonam, you came to help us, and they'll probably come to help you too. So you'll find all kinds of people. But that doesn't negate the basic theory that deep down we're still similar, right? Because in your life also, you cannot entertain everybody. In your life, you also have a filter. You must have rejected people in your life too. You must have not given enough attention to somebody who may have given attention to you on some basis. So they may have some basis too. You have some basis too. So deep down, you're very similar to them. Okay, it's not like you can embrace everybody. You cannot, right? So they can't embrace you. Why take it personally? You can't take that personally. But here the practical thing is that since this is not a match with these people, it's okay to limit yourself, it's okay to distance yourself and apply your time and energy somewhere else. But we don't have to do that through a sense of resentment or through a sense of that they're unkind. No, they are just pursuing their own goals, is and you are not part of their goals, and that's fine, because not everybody can be part of your goals. Okay, so they're still similar to you.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Uh, this is a bit personal. Like, my husband is very social, very social. Like, he wants to meet, he loves meeting people. On the other hand, he has some responsibility at home also. So, how to match things up there? Because people in my family are they have a limited circle. They think about us only, and only about the family us. They have that circle. They have that short circle. Sorry, छोटा circle है. But for my husband, he's like he loves to explore new things, and he loves meeting people. So there's a clash in their thinking. They don't. So how to
So
overcome thing?
when you say a family, it means you and your children and your relatives. Like, who are you talking about? Like,
My
clashes
in-laws,
between
my in-laws and my husband.
your in-laws and your husband. Okay.
Um,
Well, actually, there's nothing much to be done here, because these clashes are actually very, very inevitable, because people are going to be different. Their preferences are going to be different, and sometimes that's actually good also. These clashes, because they bring in some balance, which is, if everybody was just like your in-laws in the family, it will the house will be completely us, right? Or the house will be completely involved with themselves, and if everybody was like the husband, then it would be maybe too much social interaction, and maybe then you would not be able to give enough time or attention to your own family, because now you're very other oriented, right? Or people oriented. So sometimes it can lead to clashes, but it also brings in balance. Okay, so for you personally, you really cannot do much, because again, you can't change people, you can't change their preferences. What you can do is ultimately practical things, which is, okay, how, if as long as you're not actively disturbing each other's lives, you're not interfering in each other's goals, and as long as you can find a way to coexist, that is the journey that you have to take. Deep down, orientations won't change all that much. Okay, so it's like, is there a practical issue in the house between them? uh, Hello, Sonam. I think disconnected. So yeah, I think I'll just finish the point that the goal in that case would be simply to manage any practical interferences, and you really can't change the underlying belief systems. At least you can't. It's their work. If they want to change themselves, then it's their journey. Like, you really can't do much there. Okay. Okay. Next, I'll go to Madhu. Yeah.
Hi, Shridhar. So this topic, like you said, it's vast and it's left me a little confused because you touched upon so many small issues. So I had to write down a few lines. So first thing was about treating my child special as a special child compared to others and all that, right? So if I got your concept right, I understand that when say other kids are going through their own success and failure, we empathize with them, or we understand that it is their success, it is their failure, and not feel envious or whatever you said about that. That is fine. But generally on a day-to-day basis, we cannot do that. Like, I am more of that type, and I have been accused of being too objective, too impartial. Like, my daughter and my husband feel that I don't think from their point of view. I'm always thinking about somebody else's point of view. So that also happens. So I think there should be a fine balance somewhere. But in some cases, we will have to take our kids side or something like that, in some cases. For example, if my kid is going through something, and I don't know the whole situation, something is happening with her and her friend, I first thing, I cannot be very objective. So I have to be there, and I have to understand. I have to say, no, you are right, whatever, and then we can get into the actual thing. So initially, we cannot have that big circle and say become very objective, right? I don't know if I'm putting my thoughts correctly or not.
No, you're pointing it very correctly.
Yeah.
And let me summarize the question. Actually, it's a good question because now, how do you apply this, right? This concept, and in practical life, you can't just, and I gave that example, right? You can't just feed everybody, or you can't just take care of everybody. You can't give attention to everybody. You can't empathize with everybody. And that's absolutely true. You simply do not have the time and resources, and it's not even fun, right? Because think about this, you are naturally attached to your child. So doing something for your child is fun for you. You enjoy it. You won't really derive the same pleasure doing it for anybody else, unless, again, your us circle is very, very wired that way, which is, again, it is something that comes with time and a lot of thought, which is, now if I'm doing something for the society also, I'm also deriving a lot of pleasure. But again, the default our state is not that. Default state is always me, then my family, my house, my things, my work, right? And that's completely fine. And you're also right that there has to be balance, because technically you are responsible for your children. So it means that you do have to take care of them more than you would take care of anybody else, because you are responsible for certain things. You are responsible for your house also. So you have to clean your house more than you can clean somebody else's house. Of course, you would never clean somebody else's house. So that means that while you're managing your own life, of course, to manage your own life, you will be prioritizing everything about your life than others. But it's not about the application. My whole concept is more about what is your internal how do you view people, and why is that view important here? When does that come into play? First of all, in difficult situations, right? When you are in clash with other people, right? That's one of the times. Okay. Then if you have that view of objectivity, then you become more fair. Then you become kinder. Then you become more just. It will never be one-sided. Of course, you'll still want to prefer your own child. But if you have that view that the other kid is also like my kid, then it would bring the highest level of kindness or cooperation and mercy from your side, right? And that leads to a good society. So it's like enhancing those social feelings, pro-social feelings in you when you become more us. So that's one of the key benefits of it, right? And another is like the one that I mentioned, which is in general, when you're in company of other people, when you see other people, what is your feeling, right? In general, how you interpret them. So your question is completely right. And the answer is obviously that you will be prioritizing the problems and the needs of your child first, always, or yourself always. But when you really test it, when you are up against other people, then your behavior becomes more just and more moderate if you have a more of an us feeling. So that is the
agree with
yeah.
that completely. Yeah.
Yeah.
One other small thing, when you were mentioning about say walking into a restaurant or something, I just had an experience few days back, similar kind of experience. Just a minute. So I saw this restaurant on Zomato. It had good reviews. We went into it with a bunch of friends. When went inside the restaurant, and like you said, the crowd, the bad crowd. So how we came to the conclusion of bad crowd, like you can see youngsters say smoking, or not sitting properly, or you can there's something called intuition also, right? You trust your intuition and you feel that okay, this is not a right place, and we walked out. So that is also there, like they cannot be part of us at that point of time, right? I cannot just mingle there and sit there. I know that it is not the right place.
Yeah. So they're walking out of the restaurant. The question is, what is the reason? If the reason is that, let's say, they're being loud or they're smoking, and which is actively, let's say, interfering with your experience, it's perfectly fine, because you're not supposed to put up with anything as such. But if the reason is that, okay, you know what, people are just different, like they're just chilling, or people are just not dressed well enough, or I don't know, people are just simply not, it's a poor crowd or something. Those are the things that usually we can get over. And if something is actively interfering with your experience, somebody being, and like, for example, if somebody's playing loud music and talking too loudly, and I completely understandable, you can ask them or you can leave. So that's perfectly fine. So again, if the reason, what is the reason? Is this the us and them reason versus, okay, now this is practically not suitable for right now my mood? That's fine. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Next, I'll go to Preeti. Yeah. Wait. Yeah, I will muted you.
Hi, thank you so much. Shridhar, I'm still on the same question, while you said that sometimes it is the superiority complex, I'm better off. These guys look poor, they're not well dressed, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm of the belief that many times, I mean, as many people are spoken to, especially the ladies, it boils down to, not feeling good enough, inferiority complex, low self-confidence. They don't feel up to the mark. I can't sit on this table because, which is why the us and the concept then of them evolves for these ladies especially. So what will be your advice?
So, okay, so you're saying that the reason behind them doing it is their own lack of self-confidence, their own self-esteem. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be that. Again, there could be actually multiple reasons behind it, which is because sometimes it could be from that, because it's like you're trying to aspire to a higher position. Let's say it's like you came from a village, now you're in the city with your city friends, and if your village friends come to the city, then you're sort of embarrassed because you're aspiring to become the city person, and now you're embarrassed of the village friends because now you're insecure about that part of your life, right? So it could be a reason. But sometimes it could simply be the other way, because snobbery and bigotry is in itself a feature of psychology, and it doesn't have to be based on low self-esteem. Sometimes simply because we are hierarchical beings, which is we do see people, we do want more and more status in life. So as we gain more status, people who are lower in status, they start to seem inferior to you, right? So it's part of psychology, and people who are above in status, they seem superior to you. So when you go and you feel that, okay, the people around me are of lower status, you can actually feel, okay, you know what, it's that circle. So I just wanted to point out that the us and them feeling doesn't necessarily have to be based on low self-esteem. It can simply come from the snobbery in this example. Okay. And so what did you want to ask about exactly? What solution?
I was actually asking that if it is the self-esteem, the low self-esteem of this person, in embracing this new circle, because they don't feel up to the mark, in embracing them as us, and which is why the difference of us and them. What would be your advice there?
Oh, so okay, let me clarify this. So you mean to say the people who you're trying to include,
yeah,
you mean to say they are having a difficulty? The ones that you're trying to, or the one who's including them is
the one who's including them.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh.
a lot of ladies that I work with, especially in corporates, I've seen. So it's about, bringing your voice to the table and putting your point forward, but they're not able to do so because this us and them that, I can't say so. What's my capability, or, the kind of a lot of self-evaluation that they start off with. So confidence goes for a toss and they're not able to put forward their points. So, this clear differentiation on the tables I see many a times.
Well, I would not exactly characterize it as us and them problem, because it's more like what you said, Whiskey. You just fearing the unknown or fearing the reactions, or you don't know. Again, you're unaware of your own capabilities and you don't know how it will be taken, and it's just self-doubt and low self-confidence. And in the example that you gave, they're not able to speak up. So it's slightly a different problem. And for that, again, one thing that works the best, obviously, would be small steps repeated over and over. Like, so there is no substitute for practice there, right? For social skills, for being confident, if you can do some things, let's say, makes tiny goals, which is I'm going to ask at least one question in this meeting, or I'm going to make at least one opinion, right? In this meeting. The next time I'm going to do it twice, and then it's naturally going to become more and more. So for self-doubt, for such social settings, at least, it's practice is the best thing, because once you push yourself a little bit and you see that, okay, it went well. I said something and it was taken well, and people did not really criticize me for it. People didn't abuse me. They didn't throw me out of the room. It's fine. I mean, I can say again, I can talk again. So basically that feedback system comes from that behavior only. Okay. So they have to try a little harder. And if the self-doubt is about something else, then maybe they can practice on those skills if it's a particular skill. So that's the general answer for the situation. If there's any other example that you particularly have, you can share.
Yeah, it's a new concept for me, honestly. So I'm just thinking if there can be another angle. So let's say a girl gets married, and this in-laws challenge is very, very common, I know. So sometimes there's this problem in adopting the new family, and I'm saying it's not out of snobbery, but it is out of that I am not at their level. Can it happen? Can that bring about that difference of us and them?
Oh yeah. So by the way, in the family, this is actually not exactly an us and them issue. Again, it's a different issue, which is because it in a family, especially with in-laws, you are practically walking into a home. If it's, let's say, an arranged marriage, they're pretty much strangers to you. You do know how they are. Of course, you must have talked a little bit, but then you are getting into the process of familiarizing with them. And then it really depends on their approach too. Are they very welcoming, or are they very strict, or are they creating a lot of boundaries, or are they dropping all the boundaries? Okay. So it's a very interactive thing, and each interaction will determine how things will go. Are they really asking about you, or are they just demanding things from you? Right. So that way, it really depends on person to person, family to family. And there is actually a huge variation in this. Okay. But yes, the feeling, although for the in-laws, for them, it could actually be an issue, which is because for them, the woman has come from the other side. By the way, it can happen to her as well. The us and them feeling, which is it's your family versus my family, right? And it's usually enhanced in conflicts also, wherever it's like while you're fighting, you're just abusing each other's families, because it's like your family does this and my family does that. And that's actually one of the very common features in relationships also, which is people getting hurt because you abuse my family, my parents, and the other one does that to the other person. So it's one of the common features. So it does happen. But again, it's not necessarily an issue of us and them, because technically they know that they're part of the same family, the same community, they're together. It's more like just resentment or conflicts or distance between people who are living close to each other. So it's more of that problem. Okay. It's not necessarily a problem. So just to clarify, us and them again, it's mostly a concept around which people do you consider part of your world, which is like, okay, what's similar to us. It's not like people who are similar to us, you won't fight with. Of course, you're going to fight. Your whole family is your us, but you're absolutely you can be at each other's throats, right? So when I say us, I don't mean peace and harmony. I don't mean happiness. When I say us, what I really mean is that people who you consider at least part of your world, okay? who you are at least not suspicious of, who at least you can chill with, who you know that, okay, you know what, I can at least welcome in my home, right? I can sit down on a table and eat food with, right? So that's more like what I mean with us, not necessarily the good, happy feelings, because human relationships are tough anyway. Us, or whether it's us or whether it's them. Yeah. Okay. Uh, Next, I'll go to Monisha.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of rephrase how I understood the topic. So when you're saying about the us and them concept, it's basically we are broadening our circle to empathize with more and more people. Is that what the whole us and them concept is about?
See, I would say empathizing with other people is should be a result of it, not the basis of it, because otherwise it won't come naturally, right? So the result, and why would empathy be a result of it? Because the basis is that since you have absolutely no basis to prioritize your pain over somebody else's, or your child's pain over somebody else's, or let's say once you understand that your child's pain is not more important than somebody else's, then if you can empathize with your child's pain, then why not with anybody else's pain? So it's more like that logical conclusion that we are making. Okay, so it starts with that logical understanding, and then a natural, easier result could be, okay, now I can empathize with anybody because everybody's pain is just as important as my pain, right? So it should come as an offshoot of that logical understanding. So that's what I really mean.
Because you know what, on a lighter note, I am involved in a company where these people are all the time criticizing, and honestly, Shridhar, it just gets onto your nerves. And so, if I'm supposed to, go with this whole us and them concept, I try to see what is the intent of, why they're like constantly, literally criticizing. And I get to realize that it's probably there's a lot of frustrations in their lives. So what, when you start criticizing people, it sort of kind of makes you feel like, yeah, okay, everybody's in a bad suit. So maybe they just feel sort of better or nicer about themselves. So I do understand that intent, but then just being around them can actually be quite torturous. I think somebody else had also, I think Sona had mentioned something on the similar line. You are present over there, but then you just get that very discomfort feeling. You are part of it, but then you're not like literally part of it. So that's what I wanted to know. So I do empathize with the behavior, but then if you have to put yourself as first, it becomes very difficult to be in such places. So then how would you be involved with that us? It's easier to sort of put them as in that them zone rather than putting them in the us zone.
It's better that if you see kind of trying to backtrack, like where could it be coming from? Okay, why do you think this people in this company could be critical, right? Why are they like that? And it's not like it's just the most critical. It's not like while hiring, they are making this criteria that, okay, can you really criticize people? Okay, now we'll hire you. It's not that, right? It's probably because the culture of the company is set such that people are just being harsh on each other. They're just being kind of, they just think that by being harsh and critical and mean, probably they can get the most done, and sometimes it could be simply an accumulation because now we have history. Now I have received so much criticism. Now it's my job to pass it on too, right? So yeah, because I've been criticized, I'll criticize too now. So that also becomes a feature. So there could be multiple reasons why those behaviors keep propagating and keep continuing. And so what you're seeing in your company is more of an issue around the culture. And the deeper values that the company is following. It's not always about the people. So people have all kinds of behaviors. People can appreciate too. People can criticize too. Now, which behaviors are going to be enhanced and which behaviors are going to be diminished will greatly depend on the surroundings, on how people are around you and how the culture is set. So the right culture can enhance the appreciation part and reduce the criticism part, and a bad culture can do the opposite, like you're seeing in your company, right? So this is why, if you, again, in your company, every person is again just like you and me. They're no different. They're very, very similar to us. It's just that the environment that they're in right now, it has turned them like this. And do you think the people, if they completely move to a different company, or if they go to a monastery tomorrow, let's say, do you think they'll behave the same way? Of course
No,
not.
absolutely not. Yeah.
Of course not, because they're just like us. They are good people. They're normal people, and so it's part of again, the main problem could be simply your culture, the culture in the company. Okay, so this is why when you think of those people, you can empathize by saying to yourself, okay, you know what, it's not even their fault. Of course, they're also stuck in a bad system. Okay, so while I'm here, while I'm tolerating this, I can't really blame people as such. It's just that, okay, now your choice is how long do you want to sustain this? How long do you want to tolerate this? Now, you don't have to stay in this company. You can actually move out as well if you don't like it too much, because if you can't change the culture, then it's completely a good option to walk away also. But while you're there, you should be able to look at people empathetically also. And so it's like a great line that you can remember is, you can leave people with empathy, with compassion also. It's like you can completely cut off from a company while feeling compassion for them. Right? Both can happen at the same time, that I feel sorry for this and I feel bad for it, but I can't just stay here. I can't make my own life miserable. I have to walk away. Right? So you can do both at the same time. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now with that, I'll take the last question from Roja. Yeah, I'm going to unmute you.
Yeah. Hi, Shridhar.
Hi, Roja.
Yeah, so I have two questions. One question is an extension of the question Sonam has asked. So consider if you're elder in the family, he's more social, and he spends most of the time outside. And as a family, we think we are not getting enough time to spend with him. And in case if we try to argue or questions him, there will be a huge fight. He is not willing to change, and we are not getting enough time to spend. So how we can solve this problem? And the other question is, so being a man and being a woman, we might not get a bigger circle, right? Men they can go out and they can be social, and they can have many friends. But being a woman, we don't get that chance really, because we are more in a safer zone, and we are more protected compared to men. And being from childhood as well, what we are taught is not to trust anyone, because stranger is danger. Such kind of scenarios we have listened. So it is very difficult for us, at least for me, to trust anyone easily. So how my circle will enlarge?
Well, you will have to undo some of that learning, because yes, parents do make the mistake of really instilling in children early on for their own protection that, you know what, be scared of strangers again. And by the way, it's not to disregard the threats that are out there. Let's say threats that are for women are definitely way more than it is for men, right? So it's just a reality of the world. The assaults or sexual assaults also, like that's one thing. And even for children, there are instances where children can be kidnapped, right? They can be taken away. Somebody can just come in and lure them, right? So children, they're also can be more at risk. But given those dangers, still, the kind of narrative that is sometimes set in by parents, maybe it has happened with you also, the sense of danger or the probability of danger is really enhanced, really overestimated. It's sometimes too excessive. So usually the word is way more safer than we actually assume it to be. Right. So the question is the right balance, which is any kind of extreme would be too bad, which is you can't be completely careless, which is everything is good. I don't have to take care about anything, or you can't be too suspicious. So maybe in your case, you are on that other extreme, which is like it's the stranger or danger. Like I like that rhyme. It rhymes, strangers, dangers. So yeah, you are on that other end. So for you, first you have to realize that people around you, they're again just like you. If we, let's say, take away the assault part, the sexual assault, those things, if we take away that part, other than that, let's say in your day-to-day dealings part, or how people are just in their regular dealings with you, they're actually very much like you. And if you still feel like, you know what, how do I interact with them? How do I trust them? Then there is, of course, a problem in your perception, because then you are probably expecting way more dangers than they actually exist, right? So for you, you have to go back to the core principle, which is key. People deep down are very, very similar. They have similar traits, desires, and their intentions are good because actually I covered this in one session, which is their intentions are good towards you because their intentions are good towards themselves. What that means is ultimately they also want to live a good life. They want other people to like them. They want to belong to this society. So that's why they behave. That's why they also continue to be ethical and moral. So as long as people are self-preserving, they will be nice to you. They will have good intentions towards you, at least to some degree. So that's a good saving grace. And the day people become completely self-destructive, then you should run away from them in danger, because then they can do anything. Then they don't care about anything. It's like if you tell a person that no matter what happens, I'm going to kill you tomorrow, then that day that person could be the most dangerous one, right? Because now they have nothing to lose anymore, because they're going to die tomorrow and now they can do anything. But that's not how society is. Okay, so in general, we have a lot of reasons to trust people because they are self-preserving. Okay, and also they're just similar to us. It's just like you don't get up in the morning trying to find ways to hurt people, just like people don't get up in the morning trying to find ways to hurt you. Okay, so that's one. And the first question that you asked was like if one person in the family is really social and they're not giving much time to the family. That's what you asked, right? And what do you do about that? Yeah. Okay. So is that your husband, by the way, or a parent, or friend, or who is that, or sibling, or parent? Sorry, let me mute you again. Hello.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, it's my parent.
Okay, it's your parents. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I assumed if you're married. I just asked. I don't even know if you're married or not. So anyway, so for parents, see, that part, sadly, we can't do much, because unless you bring them to a counselor like us, who can actually sit down with them and tell them how important it is to balance it, it's really difficult to change people, and especially your parents, because they anyway think that they're way more smarter than you because they gave you birth. So in that case, your best shot would be to just have a talk with them, tell them how you're feeling, okay? Tell them what you want, make your expectations very, very clear, okay? And maybe that will have some impact on you, but deep down, you won't be able to change much. But yes, they might change with you because of your communication with them. So I would just say, have a clear talk with them. What do you exactly expect of them, and how do you feel if the expectation is not fulfilled? So if you make that clear, that can take you to your best shot.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you all for coming again. And as always, I really enjoyed it. And thanks for the questions too. Made it really, really productive and helped me clarify the concept even better. These videos can help you to some degree, but if your problems are really serious or painful, you should come for counseling. We now have a team of psychologists who can help you and your family live a much better life. Here are some feedbacks from our clients. If you wish to take counseling from us, go to our website page www.shridharlifeschool.com/counsel. Click on this link and fill this application form. We will get back to you soon. I would be doing these online meetings with you all regularly for some time. If you wish to attend these meetings live on Zoom, save the details. If you need reminders, we also send invitations to you personally on email and Telegram app. To get reminders, do the following.